Greetings, brothers and sisters. This video is mainly about JoJo Magoo's speech at a brewery, where it's just absolutely wonderful that they are attempting to run this guy for president. Like it's just reality doesn't matter anymore. But first, I want to get to this. This is my other YouTube channel, the Gratefullness Meditation YouTube channel. I have been working on a sort of an exposing of the Heartfulness organization and Dodgy, the current scammer and grifter in charge of the organization. And I've made a playlist, which gratefully I'm through with today. And I've been trying to get the channel monetized, mostly because I want to have the videos that are meditation videos not get interrupted by ads. And YouTube is running ads on them despite it not being monetized, which is a new YouTube policy. So I've been working to get it monetized. I'm going to monetize the longer videos here that are more information based, but the rest of the videos, the meditation videos, are going to be free of ads. And I'm waiting to get 4,000 hours. I looked at this morning. It looked like I had gotten the 4,000 hours I needed to make this channel monetized. But it turns out I'm 20 hours short. They're putting up one day at a time. So tomorrow it'll be over. I'm assuming, you never should assume with YouTube. But 20 hours, classic. This is everything we've expected from YouTube. But anyways, that's reality here. And so here is the playlist here. There's 3 videos up already on the playlist, and then the one's uploading now. There's one uploading now. There's this one. There's this one. So I guess there's 6 in total. Did I miss one? I thought there was more. But anyways, I'll go count and make sure I have all of them uploaded. But there's going to be 6 videos there. I thought there was more, maybe 7, I don't know. But that's hopefully done. I just want to move on from that. It's, to me, an epic. They're just really, to me, important videos that in terms of the content itself. Like, the difference between this and some of the other things I've made is this is based in personal experience. I don't have a personal experience with Trump or Biden or Alec Baldwin. These are people that are just a part of the show, but I, know Kamlesh Patel, and I know the Abhiyasis and people, and a part of the organization, and so it's, it's a little bit different, more personal, and I think it's some of the best content I've produced, and so there's that. So I'm in the editing process. It ended up being 8 videos. There was a short one I forgot to upload onto YouTube. That's how, much this thing it's one of those things where I dive into sort of the rabbit hole of something. It hasn't happened in maybe years, but I used to cover something that happened with Prince's death, where I ended up making like 10, 15 videos on that YouTube, demonetized them. That was when YouTube started to be a little bit more scrutinized in what they did. It was the kind of a turning point right at that time when Prince died. But what happened with various other subjects, a lot of times with celebrities, Michael Jackson, when that documentary came out and all these Michael Jackson fans started to show up, and so I ended up making a number of videos about that. Certainly about things that, like Alec Baldwin, over the years where I've covered, not in a short period of time, but over some period of time, I've made a lot of videos about him, and then of course politics with Trump and Biden, things like this. But in terms of short span of time and making a lot of videos all at once, you get sucked into something. You get pulled into the negativity and depravity of other people or whatever's going on. Like, I usually try to stay as detached from the content material I make as much as possible, because I don't want it to affect me, my spiritual condition, and these things. I just make it with like a sense of almost like I'm watching something, but it's Now I'm not connected to it. But this thing, of course, Sajmarg, and now this Heartfulness scam is something that, I've been doing the meditation now for so many years, and, I've watched this thing just be run into the ground by this clown, Dodgy, and the people around him. And here's an example of some of it here. There's a person that communicates to me from India who's, fighting the good fight against this stuff with Dodgy. And he sent me this guy, Ramdev, who we call Diaper Baba. And he showed up at a gathering I'm going to get to my regular stuff. I got stuff to do with Kennedy. I'm just going to, give you a little taste of this thing. But he's in charge of this $1 billion business. He's a billionaire, multi-billion-dollar business called Patanjali, which Patanjali was the father of modern yoga and was the second master of the Sajmark system, Babaji, in a past life. But this guy has taken some of these old ancient Ayurvedic medicines and things, and he's merged up. He's a yogi. He does yoga, like physical yoga. He did a belly dance. Like, he showed up at a gathering in India, my last gathering to India, right before COVID. And he got up on stage wearing a orange. He stripped down to an orange diaper, and he started doing belly dances. Right. You can see here, he did this belly rolling, right, where they do. That takes some skill, but it's kind of weird. It's called Nala Kriya. Here he is here in a diaper. So that's what he did, right? And we were not expecting it because the method of meditation we do is called Raja Yoga, and Hatha Yoga is not recommended. In the system, you're not supposed to do Hatha Yoga because it has sort of conflicting energies and, it's very body-centered. Usually the big gatherings were primarily in English, and there would be a few talks given, but you would do these meditations, these group meditations, in these, giant tents, and now they have this meditation hall, the world's largest meditation hall. So there's like 70, 80,000 people here, and they have these auxiliary buildings and things. And it was my wife's first trip to India. My kids, they had just started doing the practice. They really were just, not even in a sense doing it. They had started the thing, but they weren't really sold on it. And we're here in India, and there's these people, like this guy's up on stage with the current master of the system, and nobody knew who he was. He was acting weird, and and then he just gets up. He's speaking in Hindi, so all of us from America and Europe and people like that were just dumbfounded by what was going on. And he just started doing these weird yoga poses, stripped down to his diaper. He was wearing this orange kind of diaper-like thing, and he was just barking, speaking weirdly, like he has had a weird idiosyncratic nature. And there's a giant like video screen, and we're just watching this guy with no explanation, right? Like, no one knew where he came from or what he was doing. We didn't know what he was or who he was, right? And we didn't know he was a billionaire, some kind of a businessman scammer. But this guy showed up the gathering, and we didn't know he was coming, and they started to call him Babiji, like Babaji, but spelled slightly different, and because he's a Baba. And my wife coined the phrase diaper Baba because he got up, stripped down, and was in a diaper. And he hijacked the gathering for like 2 hours, which would have been hilarious and kind of still was. But it was like unexpected, and all these people from America and Europe were like, what's going on? This was weird. And he talked, primarily in Hindi, and he just, wouldn't get off the stage. And he dominated he was following Dodgy around, and they erased the video. It was embarrassing. They filmed the whole thing and put it up on YouTube. And they just got rid of it. Like, it was up there for like a week, and it was like disappeared as quickly as possible because, it was just weird. Like, it was such a weird, like, no one would look at this thing and say, I want to be a part of whatever this is, right? But Dodgy and him keep on coming back together because this guy's a billionaire. And here they are creating buildings in the ashram, right?
अपना 11 महीना घर में रहे, महीने के लिए 20 दिन.
So there's that, but they are building ashrams. This is the meditation hall there, and they're building buildings here. They have these apartments, and I think Daji needed his. This is his. This is his place in India, so they're showing his place in India, and they have these apartments that they're going to build like this in Kana, and so they have this joint project. Heartfulness and Pantanjali Advanced Loving Long-Term Occupancy Wellness Residential Apartment. And none of this is to go with what Saj Marg was supposed to be, right? You know, there's great things about wellness and physical health, but Saj Marg was always about a spiritual evolution and very little to do with your physical. You know, your physical body was just, you get you there on a soul level, right? You would usually suffer and go through difficulties on your material life so you could advance spiritually. But they're building these buildings, and it's a combination between Pantanjali and Heartfulness. And if you go to the you go down here, there's a link here. If you go to this link, it no longer exists, right? And so there's been times he's partnered with this guy, and then it seems like the partnership dissolves, and then whatever's going on there, and they don't let you know. It's just like he's there and then he's not. But now he's going through various. He's been questioned on whether he puts toxic ingredients or negative ingredients in his medicines and things. That he makes false claims about what they can do for you, and that the ingredients aren't listed. There's unlisted ingredients, and there's things in there on the ingredients that aren't in there. It's also been accused that he uses his people. This guy Ramdev. That he uses people, his followers, to do free labor, and that's why he's been able to become a billionaire, right? Like a scammer. And he tried to raise his own army and things. There's, he's very pro-Hindu, and he's kind of a right-wing extremist for that country. And Duji has connected himself to this clown. And just so you get a sense of the kind of stuff that I'm talking about in the videos, this kind of grifting and, pretending to be spiritual people and then running scams and things on your followers. Okay, so I'm editing the video, and some reason there's a buzz in the background, and I'm not psyched about it. I don't know why it's there. It's like my microphone is picking up something that I can't hear, but that's a drag, but it's there. Hopefully it isn't for the rest of the video, and I'll figure out what it is going on. But anyways, this is RFK Jr. and the guys. I want to get to JoJo Magoo in a second, but this guy's toppling. He's done. He's become a punchline in a joke, and he knows it now. Like, he's realizing he's a joke. Well, let's get into it here.
I don't agree with that, but okay. Do you have concerns about the level of Israeli influence in our politics here in the United States of America?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not, I'm not a politician in political office, so I don't see much of that.
Okay, so the whole thing that, your dad was senator and, was he Secretary of State or whatever it was, Attorney General, under his brother, your uncle, and he was on his way to becoming president. Your uncle was president, and all these guys, there was an expectation that one of them would become president, right? You have a political family, a family that is, you're an insider. And you've talked about things in a way, in terms of truth or narratives, that, you articulated them, that people in the truth community and far left people, woke people with, environmental concerns and other things were gravitating to you. And it was a very powerful demographic of people who have a lot of energy, a lot of action, who have strong internet presence, and could have made you have a respectable candidacy. I don't know if you would have won, but you at least would have wouldn't be embarrassing. But you torpedoed that with your take on Israel, like the way that you pandered and groveled and got down on your knees and serviced that rabbi you were talking to. I mean, it was just egregious, right? And you lost all the people. And now your candidacy is a joke because you don't have, you were saying you were campaigning on truth, but you say stupid stuff like this because, they have this largest pro-Israel lobbying group is Christian United for Israel with over 7 million members. And then there's American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, is a leading organization with lobbying, speaking on behalf of the coalition of pro-Israel American and Jewish groups, right? It's just well known. Every politician knows this. They have to make a deal. They have to sign this, they have to sign this support of Israel. New Georgia law revives Israeli oath for large state contracts. Governor Brian Kemp signed a measure into law Monday that requires businesses with significant state contracts to sign an oath pledging not to boycott Israel. Like, that's the kind of power they have. But there's this pledge where Cynthia McKinnon, you can find the video. It's up on YouTube. Cynthia McKinnon says that she wouldn't sign a pledge to support Israel, and they took her seat. And this is well known, right? Like, people know this in the government. I mean, he knows it. Kennedy knows it. How can he not? Like, if I know it, he knows it. So there's a big pro-Israel lobby, right? Israeli lobby are individuals and groups seeking to influence the United States government to better serve Israel's interest. The pro-Israel lobby is included these groups here. And so, there's an Israeli lobby. There's lobbies for many different countries, and Israel has one of the biggest ones. And we know it, right? And so, like, why would you say that? Like, it's obvious that, I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, what are you talking about? I want to move on to Biden again. I'm not covering Trump today, but that doesn't mean Trump doesn't suck. But I got a speech I want to cover with Biden. And far left comic Michael Rappaport slams cadaver Biden, saying voting for Trump on the table after migrants beat down cops in New York City. And so this guy, he
This is why when I say voting for pig Donald Trump is on the table, voting for pig Donald Trump is on the table. The other day in New York City, 6 illegal aliens jumped a New York City cop, NYPD's finest. They jumped a New York City cop in Times Square and
no way. Times Square.
were arrested and released without bail. I know it's a city thing. I know it's a state thing. I know all that. I know all that. I know all that. Okay? Stay with me. Released
Okay.
without bail. Came out of the courtroom on some Tupac raising the middle finger with the Detroit Red Wings jersey. Let me tell you something. What the is the world coming to? If you could be from another country, beat up a cop in New York City, and walk out with no bail, what the is the world coming to? What the is the world coming to? I know, Mayor Adams, you're from Brownsville, Brooklyn. I know this. Like, what the have I gotten myself into? Stay with me. On the same day that happens, Cadaver Joe Biden issues an executive order about 4 quote-unquote settlers in Judea, Samaria, a.k.a. the West Bank. Some troublemakers, 3 of the 4 have already been arrested. You issue an executive order about 4 troublemaking ups who've already been arrested in Judea, Samaria, while there's a war going on, while there's 100 plus hostages.
See, he's got his Jewish star here. And so he's, going against Biden because Trump is going to be more supportive of Israel, so that's something to think about, right?
Still being held in Gaza. You're talking about that, but you got nothing to say about beating up cops in New York City, the greatest city on earth?
No, it isn't. It's, New York is what it is, but it's a pit, and it's like, Mordor.
Maybe it's not. Maybe my city is not the greatest city on earth anymore. If you could beat up cops.
Yeah, it's not.
If you could beat up cops in the quote-unquote greatest city in the world and be released without bail, are we the greatest city on earth?
No, you're not.
Cadaver Joe Biden, we see you. We see you. Don't worry about those in Israel. Bibi got them. Israel will take care of them. Worry about cops getting beat up in Times Square and walking out with no bail like the Tupac Shakur. Worry about that shit. This is why voting for pig Donald Trump is still on the table.
Okay. If you vote for him, we'll believe you. So this guy here,
Join me in welcoming the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Joseph R. Biden. This guy's like governor of Wisconsin or something like this.
Thank you. You have a seat, take it. Hello, Wisconsin.
Woo!
I'm from across the bay.
It's
Hello,
Wisconsin.
Minnesota.
Woo! Minnesota.
Tim, thank you for the introduction. I got to meet his twins and his wife, and no wonder he's here.
What does that even mean? You met his twins and his wife, and you wonder, and you see why he's in a brewery?
But they're going to keep him here. Look, I'm honored to be with the two best governors in America, in the United States of America today. Governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers. Tony, stand up. And also the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz.
Woo! Look at him. Look at his face. You know, even if he had the best resume, he doesn't. He's a plagiarizer. He had to drop out of running for president because he plagiarized. He got caught lying. He's been a gaffe magnet. He's creepy around women and kids. He's a snoozler, groper, sniffer of hair, sniffer, all these things. Does weird stuff. He played a fool with President Biden, right? He played the fool as vice president. So he doesn't have a great resume. But let's say he did, right? And this guy walks into your office. You're in human services. What job would you give this guy? I mean, if it was something based on his influence or something, his having influence on, his connections or something like that. Yeah, you might, but I'm talking on his abilities. Like if this guy walks into your office and based on his ability to perform tasks, what would you say he could do, right? There's no job he could do. You wouldn't hire this guy. His best days are behind him, right? And his best days weren't that great. You wouldn't hire him to drive your kids to school on a bus. I mean, would you do that? Like, then why would you even consider him for presidency? And that's the same thing. I said the same thing 4 years ago. It's even worse now. Like, the guy's just gone, right? This guy's too old. And again, it's not a matter of his age. It's a matter of the deterioration. Because there are some people who are his age that are sharp and, they're still able to perform. But I can just say, I'm 20 years younger than this guy, and your body just starts breaking down. And, you're not going to be able to do quality work. There's things you can't do. There's things I can't do that I used to do 10 years ago. Certainly, as you move along, you just lose abilities to do things. And some of that is to do with your cognitive functioning, right? And his cognitive functioning is gone.
And thanks to the outstanding senators, Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin, Tammy's around, and Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith from the state of Minnesota.
Woo!
If I have all three of them on my side, I don't worry about anything.
It's just so weird.
And two great mayors.
Mayor
Payne of Superior, Wisconsin, and Mayor Reinert of Duluth, Minnesota. Stand up, guys.
So it sounds like, they've got an enthusiastic group, but he goes through a long list of people. I'm not going to show you. I already did this and I forgot to tape it. I forgot to hit the button to tape. I just checked it to make sure. I didn't do it again. But things like that happen. So I went through a bunch of this speech. He talks about the infrastructure bill. They have this thing, investing in America here behind him on a keg and a flag. It's just so pathetic. But then let's get into it down here. Let's move forward.
This high-speed internet today. In Wisconsin and Minnesota, we're investing $2.5 billion. $2.5 billion in high-speed internet. And we're going to save...
Woo!
We're going to save more than 600,000 families in these two states up to $30 a month in internet bills.
Woo!
The household I came from, that matters. Those $30 at the end of the month bills will add up when you're living
Yeah, $30.
on a fixed salary. We're also investing $1.1 billion in your state to provide clean water and replace poisonous lead pipes.
Woo!
Every lead pipe's going to be taken out.
Woo! Take out all them lead pipes.
You turn on your faucet and drink clean water without getting sick. You know, a recent study shows that reducing lead exposure for children has the same effect on a student's test scores as reducing the size of a class they're in from 22 to 15.
No way. It's amazing that there's still lead pipes out there.
1/10 the cost it is. It matters. It affects the ability of the brain to function. That's why we're going to eliminate every single lead pipe in America, and I promise you that. We got
Colonel Mustard in the conservatory with the lead pipe.
the money to do it now.
Woo!
And that's on top of another $1 billion to clean up the Great Lakes, which provide drinking water for 20 million people. 20 million people.
Kaboom. He's getting it done. He's investing in America right here.
And by the way, it used to make the beer brewed here. It is used to make the brewed beer here in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. I wonder why it's called.
See, there wasn't any English in there. That's what I originally saw. I saw this thing here. But this is where, you know, he did an okay job up to this point. He was, you know, he was doing all right. He was doing good for JoJo Magoo. But then he goes full like, I'm going to babble and say things that make no sense at all.
And that's on top of another $1 billion to clean up the Great Lakes, which provide drinking water for 20 million people. 20 million people. And by the way, it used to make the beer brewed here. It is used to make the brewed beer here in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. I wonder why it's called. What we're doing.
Why are you laughing when he didn't say anything that you could understand there? You just thought, you know, was that a laugh? What do you do there?
Doing in Wisconsin and Minnesota is just one piece of a much bigger story. Look, 14 million new jobs since I became president.
Woo! You're kicking ass, woo!
169 new jobs in Wisconsin.
Wait, 169 new jobs in Wisconsin? Wow. Take it easy there, buddy. You can't have that many jobs.
100,000 in Minnesota. Nearly 800,000 new manufacturing jobs nationwide, good-paying jobs. And employment has been the lowest, been below 4% for the longest stretch in 50 years.
Woo! Sounds like, you know, people aren't struggling to figure out how to buy groceries, which, you know, we know is the case.
And it's even lower in Wisconsin and Minnesota, where it stands at 3.3 and 2.9% respectively. That's our economic plan. Invest in America. Invest in American products. Build in America. That's what we call Bidenomics. My professor, well, I won't get into my professor.
Well, because you don't know what you're talking about?
Well, look, my predecessor, though.
I'll talk about him. I'll talk about him.
It was a different course. Trickle-down economics. Cut taxes for the very wealthy and big corporations.
The same old spiel here. Like, let's see him wrap it up here.
We have to do more. One of the other things that I want to mention, you know, I've been, I'll say this politely, for my entire career I have been going after the pharmaceutical corporations.
Until the big event happened and you made things mandatory, right? So you haven't really done that, Joe.
Pharmaceutical corporations in America are the best in the world. They make the best product. For whatever prescription you may be taking now, if I take that prescription for you, I'm going to fly to Toronto, Canada, London, England, Brazil, anywhere in the world, I will get that prescription by the same company filled for anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 the cost.
They're screwing us. So you're saying that pharmaceuticals, right out of the horse's mouth, the president said, pharmaceuticals are screwing Americans.
We get charged more than any other country in the world. Not a joke. And you pay for it, not only in your prescription, but you pay for it because Medicare pays for a great deal of this. So I've been pushing to let Medicare negotiate and say what they do.
Woo!
Well, with the help of your Senate and Congress congressional delegation, I finally won. And guess what? Any of you, I'm not asking you to raise your hand, but you know anybody who has a problem with diabetes, needs insulin? Well, it used to be the average cost of that insulin shot a year on a monthly basis was closer to $400. Now they cannot charge more than $35.
Boom, lean into it, Joe.
Woo! And by the way, they're still making 350% profit. It costs $10 to make it. $10 to make it. And the guy who invented it didn't even want a patent on it because he thought it should be available to everyone.
Yeah, but you know, those companies should get mandates because they're totally trustworthy.
I can take you down the list. And beginning in 2025, guess what else happens? Anybody, if you know, have parents or grandparents who are taking a cancer drug, they may be paying anywhere from $6,000 to $13,000 a month for that drug. They can't do it. And guess what? No senior is going to have to pay, no matter how many drugs they have to take, more than $2,000 a month, period. Period. And they're still going to make money. They're still going to make money. And folks, I was told that that's an awful thing to do, man. It's a terrible thing to do.
I was told it's a terrible thing to do to make money.
Guess what? Not only is it saving the individual money, it means you as taxpayers are paying billions of dollars less per month because you don't have to spend that money on Medicaid. You don't have to spend that money on Medicaid because it's a fair price. We get look. We now have. We used to, before the recession, before the pandemic, we had about 700 billionaires in America. There are 1,000 billionaires now. You know
No way, 300 more billionaires.
His tax rate is 8%.
No way.
Raise your hand if you want to trade your tax rate now for 8%. No, I'm not joking.
He's not joking. Raise your hand, Eminem. First, get your fucking hands up.
I'm being deadly earnest. You know,
He's deadly earnest, this guy. You can't remember his name, but it's might be earnest.
Like I'm making this up. 8% what they pay. That's why I proposed a billionaire minimum tax of 25%. That's not even top rate.
You proposed it, but it never happened. After 4 years, you couldn't get that passed.
If billionaires and big corporations paid even close to their fair share, we could strengthen Social Security and Medicare, bring down the cost of child care, elder care, working class.
Okay, so why didn't, after 4 years, hasn't that happened?
Middle class people would all be better off, and it wouldn't cost a penny because they make $40 billion would be coming into it. And it's not. I mean, it's just basic fairness.
It's fairness. 25% of your earnings is fair taxes for this government. That's fair. You have to pay 25%, and then state taxes on top of it. Is that fair? I mean, anybody. You want to pay 1/4 of your earnings to this guy and the clowns that run this incompetent MNFer and the evil people that work around him, or Trump, any of them, right? That's just too much, right? It's too much for the kind of product we're getting from our government.
You know, it's the right thing to do, and we can get this done. And I'll be damned, in the last year of this administration, I'm going to get it done.
I'm going to get it done. I didn't get it done before, but I'll get it done next time. You know, when I'm senile and a lame duck president.
Let me close with this. I'm going on too long. I apologize. I get a little tied up here. This bridge is important, but the story we're writing is much bigger than that. When you see the shovels in the ground and cranes in the sky and people hard at work in these projects, I hope you feel a renewed sense of pride.
Pride.
Pride in your community. Pride in what we can do. Pride in America. Pride knowing we can get big things done still together in America. We're the only country in the world that's come out of every crisis we've gotten into stronger than we went in.
No, that's not true.
Not a joke. The only country in the world. For God's sake, this is the United States of America.
The United States of America.
The United States of America.
It is.
And the real heroes in this whole story, the American people are starting to speak up. American workers, American people doing the work to bring communities back to the country in ways that was before in the future. That's what America does.
That's what we do. In America, that's what we do.
That's why I've been never more optimistic about the future. You just remember who in God's name are. We're the United States of America.
That's what we are.
Nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. Let's start working together for God's sake. God bless you all. May God.
That's the way he always says. All right, so there's a part in here I have to go back and find it. There's one line I want to get to. Let me go find it here. This isn't the line, but this is one funny thing he said. He's talking about this bridge here that goes between Wisconsin and Canada.
We knew this bridge needed a lot of work. Tammy didn't let me forget that either.
Tammy. Oh, that Tammy. So he starts talking about the economy and how he's doing better than Trump. But then this is the quote I want to talk about here.
Not the top down. I was raised in a household where we had 3 bedrooms. It was a nice home. 3-bedroom split level home and a new development of 40 homes in suburbia with four kids and a grandpa living with us. And
wait, are you Willie? Are you Charlie in the Chocolate Factory? Do they all sleep in the same bed?
But that trickle-down economics didn't trickle down much on my dad's kitchen table, because when we work from the middle out and the bottom up, the poor have a shot.
This guy knows about the bottom up.
When we work from the middle out and the bottom up, the poor have a shot, the middle class does really well, and the wealthy still do well. But everybody gets a shot. We all do well. You know, as the Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen, just said today, and I quote, "The story of the middle class is not separate from the state of the economy. It's at the
Janet Yellen. That's who you're going to quote? You're quoting Janet Yellen here.
Part of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, workers across industries and occupations, from firefighters to nurses to factory workers. That's the middle class. At least that's where I come from. That's what it's all about. So I'm here to announce more progress that shows that we can get big things done in America. We start believing in ourselves again.
We start believing in ourselves again. It's not that we don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe in you and Trump and the other people. I mean, the majority of Americans have lost faith in their leaders. It's not a matter of losing faith in themselves. They don't believe in you. They don't believe in you and your crackhead son. You know, your connections and your lifelong being a politician, and the corporations and people run the system. I mean, people believe in themselves to whatever extent. I mean, that hasn't changed. People either believe in themselves or they don't. This isn't a question of we don't believe in ourselves or America. We look around and we see that, you know, the youth that's coming up who are addicted to the internet, and each generation getting successively worse. And then, you know, the people running the system, I mean, this guy's brain dead. And they just roll this guy out. It's hilarious. They roll this guy out like he's legitimately could be president. You know, they did it 4 years ago. He was senile 4 years ago. And he sucked before that. He wasn't like he was good when he was at his prime, like I said. So, you know, we don't believe in you, right? And the more somebody's aware and awake of what's going on, the less they believe in you and the system. So I just read through some of the comments. I hadn't been able to read through the comments. I've been just busy, and it's been kind of a weird time, and I've been making all this extra content on the other channel. And I guess I said Hickey Nally. I thought I reversed the first and last name, but I got to remember the exact, it was a mistake that I said, but it's funny. It's a great name for her, Hickey Nally. But she'll disappear soon anyway, so it won't be. But, we'll have fun while we can. I mean, that's what it should be. We'll have fun while we can, right? Should be the theme of, I should have, this should be part of my tagline here. Because, have fun while you can, because pretty soon it's not going to be so fun. Like right now we have full bellies in the internet and still a working economy and all the rest of it. But it's not going to last forever. And it would be one thing if it was just JoJo Magoo. It'd be something. But it's everything's like this, right? This guy should not be running for president. There should be things in the system that make this impossible for a guy who's this senile, this old, this I mean, he's just depraved and just ridiculous, would run for president. No one should look at this guy as a legitimate, having the ability to do the job. He doesn't have it. He just doesn't have the ability. Aside from his political leanings, I mean, Trump's the same way. And Trump's going to be, in 4 years, he'll be like Joe Biden in some way or another. He's already having issues with his memory and things. There's cognitive decline. They're the two oldest candidates ever in the history of presidency. And neither one are doing well in a time where things are falling apart. And Trump is already a proven failed president, as is Biden. They both failed. And they failed the people that they were supposed to represent. Biden failed the Democrats and the liberals particularly. And Trump failed the Republicans and the conservatives and the truthers. And still, you keep on going back to the guy, which shows you that the voting base, democracy itself has failed. That you can't evaluate these people. People don't have enough skill to evaluate who they're voting for and what they're voting for. And they just go in and pull the lever like mindless sheep. And, even if they claim to be awake and part of the truth community, the Trumpers, they can't evaluate. They can't look at people and read them and judge them by their actions. Like these are known entities. I said when Kennedy first started running and he was doing a good job of articulating truther positions, he wasn't a known entity yet. But then the stuff that happened with Israel he became a known entity. But even with that, you don't know how he would behave as president. And I'm not saying to vote for him because he sucks, but you don't know until they're president. Like the liberals didn't know that Joe Biden wasn't a liberal. Like, they knew maybe he wasn't as liberal as Bernie Sanders, but they didn't know he was going to just ignore them completely. They had a sense of it, maybe, some of them, right? The Trumpers, like, when Trump got elected, it seemed like he was going to be a very warlike president. One of the things that was surprising about Trump, and it was a pleasant surprise, which is he didn't order or continue any of these illegal wars, which economically would have been a good thing for the military-industrial complex. But Trump seemed to have at least a little bit of a heart and integrity. They didn't want to bomb innocent people. He wasn't doing the drone strikes and things. And those guys, the CIA and the military, still wanted to do those things. Like, for his credit, Trump stood up to them. That was like one of the pleasant surprises about Trump, because he wanted a North Korea-style military parade when he got inaugurated, and he said he was totally willing to use nuclear bombs. And there was it was possible, like we didn't know what he was going to do, that he was going to go, he's so petty and he's so arrogant that he would be, just ready to hit the button, hit the red button for nuclear war. Like that was on the table before Trump was elected. But then we saw that he was, he was kind of a bonus hole, and that's a good thing in this situation. And he wasn't willing to go there, right? He talked big, but he wasn't, a murderer like these other guys don't care. They'll just murder innocent drone strikes and things. Not that Trump should be voted for, but that was something that we didn't expect from him, right? Because of the way he presented himself during the campaign. So you don't know what you're going to get, but you do know you're going to get that both these guys got run and, they got handled and they got, they got used and they went along with things that were evil. And we know that with both guys, and they're both old and they both suck. And people are going to line up and vote for him anyway because, that's the condition of the American people. And so these are all indicators of a system that's going to collapse and pretty soon because the people have broken down morally in the government, and they can't even produce anybody who would resemble, even act like a quality candidate, act like a quality human being. All the politicians, they're horrible. They're so warped, and, they just, they can't even get somebody who just comes off somewhat normal and just as a person that you could relate to or something like that. So there's buzzing during the video, and I was kind of bummed by it. It's nothing I could do about it. And disappeared. I don't know what it was. So there's that. But anyways, tomorrow will be another day. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely born from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.